Hi, this is Roger. Thanks. Still gruff. Thanks for dropping by. I'm halfway round my main watering run, and I thought if I chuck the camera up now, we get to have a look at the plants that don't usually get looked at, because I usually start over here. So we end up looking at those more often. So it's the rest. Now, my main watering run, it's easier to say what doesn't get done. What doesn't get done: Phalaenopsis in the kitchen, Pleonies, Cymbidiums. Everything else gets done. So that's the cooler, shadier set, and all the rest in the pots and all of the mounts. It's a big run. They all get the same, which basically at this time round, that's a TDS of 200 and a pH of 6.5. So that's what they're all getting, whether they like it or not. The main reason for doing it today, in normal weather conditions it would have got left till Monday, but we're heading for another heat wave. That'll be the third this year, and it's only the start of July. I don't know how long this can go on, quite honestly, before crops start dying and trees start suffering. There's a limit to how much they can put up with without hydration. And it's not just the heat, it's the lack of rain. Now, you can cut our country in half across the top of Wales, across to the coast. Everything up there is getting rain. Everything down here gets nothing. It's just literally, that's the way the jet stream is. Anyway, I'm going to get going because I want to get this done before the sun comes round and it starts getting hot in here. It's already too hot in the garden to do much, but I've watered out there earlier on, so yeah, the work in the garden's probably going to go on hold. It'll just be too hot. I can get some little bits done perhaps first thing if I haven't got much to do in here. Anyway, I will twist the camera around. I'll have my back to you a fair bit. Hang on, let's see where we are. I'll drop the camera down, but I can put plants in front of the camera. I'll try and remember to get them on camera, not like last time where half of them were hanging off the side. So that's my feed, and that's my watering bowl, and this is where the plants get stacked up. As I say, I work a shelf at a time. I bring the plants over one at a time or in a tray, water them, leave them here, and then I put them all back together. So we'll start on the top shelf, which is effectively the display shelf. So these are the ones, in the main, this is what's in bloom or about to be in bloom. Right, now this Nellie Isla has lost one spike, that's gone over, and it doesn't feel too heavy. The trouble is the bottom of the pot is in cocoa coir, so it's not going to get too much water, but I will give it some. It's not going to get a lot though, it's going to get a trickle. Main reason is this coir holds a lot, and it's topped with bark. I can't see how wet the pot is. As soon as this spike goes over, this will get repotted. Got a new growth starting down here, so our new growth is ready to come. My other Nellie Isla, the red velvet, the one that I didn't think was going to make it, that also has a new growth I discovered today. Right, the next one is the Brassia hybrid. I'm not going to show blooms close up simply because everything in bloom on the 8th is not far away. We'll be having a closer look. One dead leaf to come off. New growths coming up. Look at that area there for new growths. Well, that's not it. You know, come round here, there's another one here, another 2 here, another 2 in there, and loads in the middle of the pot. It's going mad, this thing. Very vigorous plant. No ID, just Brassia type. Probably a Brassia cross with a Miltonia. It's the common one. Sometimes they hybridise them with Miltoniopsis. Unfortunately, that introduces a little bit of fussiness into them. Miltonias are, to all intents and purposes, you grow in an Orchidium really, they're so similar, they're not worth worrying about the differences. But the Miltoniopsis are a different ball game altogether. But Brassias tend to be intermediate up the warmer end. They quite like warmer temperatures. If you introduce Miltoniopsis into it, then it cools them down. It effectively means they're more cold tolerant. Right, what have we got next? We've got one that won't stand up on its own. This has to lean against something. This is Dendrobium Apollon. Lovely new growth coming on. Have we got rid of the bugs? Yes, we have. So I got a spray last time. It had quite a lot of mealybugs, and I can see a few youngsters on other parts of the plant. But it was the new growth I was worried about. Obviously they can do damage to that. Yeah, this was a gift from my friend Helen at the Orchid Society. Lovely strong new growth, in bloom at the moment, and the last cane was absolutely enormous and won't stand up. As a consequence. But it's a nice plant, as I say, it's got a nice new growth pushing on. That'll be in bloom next year. Could be late winter, early spring, it might be a bit later. As I say, this one's in bloom in midsummer. Yeah. Nobly typed dendrobiums do play games. They do decide sometimes that they're not going to behave the way we expect them to. Right, I'll get this one done. It's a biggie. This is the no ID dendrobium that's a bit like infundibulum. The trouble with this one is it produces quite a lot of buds all in the same place, and they end up all squashing up against each other. But that's how it grows. There's not a lot I can do about it. I could remove a couple, and give the ones that are left some space. But I sort of think along the lines, well, that's how you grow, so that's how you grow. Do it, never try and change the world. Talking of changing the world, apart from what's going on in Venezuela, which is obviously very sad, the rest of the world seems to be on hold at the moment. Nobody's talking about any of it. It's all blinking football. And one of the newscasters this morning on the breakfast news programme actually came up with something, because I know that's what he believes, and he actually looked up, they were talking about the World Cup and they were talking to somebody about football and this, that and the other, and he said it was to do with whether the schools should allow kids to take the day off, because the next England match starts at 1 o'clock in the morning on Monday. Yeah? So people are going to have to either go to bed and get up again or stay up practically all night. They've allowed the pubs to open till 4 in the morning. They've extended a global licence extension. Normally pubs have to ask individually, they've just done the lot. All for football. One of the newscasters looked up and said, "You do realise not everybody is interested in football?" Yay! Somebody had to say it. And it's true, the football loonies, which, okay, it's a lot of people, it's the most popular game probably, well it is, but not everybody is interested in it. Some people, I mean at the moment I'm watching tennis and enjoying it, sunny afternoons, strawberries and cream, posh hats on some of the ladies, some interesting visitors that also enjoy the game, including David Beckham, a football person, watching tennis. Not everybody lives their whole life around football. There is more to the world than just football. Right, we've got this little one. This has only just been repotted, but it's heading towards dryness already, so it's going to get... And when I repotted it, it just got watered. I've got some feed on the go now, so... Put some feed on it. That's my Laelia perenniae. I'll give that a little feed. Perk it up a bit perhaps. Right. Now these are wet, but I'll bring them over. They're wet because I watered them yesterday because they were bone dry. These are my kikis. Now that's an infundibulum kiki, black hair type. There's there's a root down at the bottom of the pot, down there. And round there as well. So the roots are extending on that. It is growing roots. So it didn't have many when it was potted up. And that is delicatum. That's decided it prefers its roots out of the bottom of the flipping pot. But it's growing roots. That's the main point. So that's delicatum. Obviously both of these are a long way off blooming there. They're more for fun really than practical. And then this one is a rescue. This is my epidendrum, it's Comet Valley Orange Star. Poor roots, very unhealthy plant. We do have a new shoot coming out near the base. When that gets going, hopefully that will produce roots, and the roots are close enough to the pot to get down in the pot. So those are my little kikis. They live over on the end in the bright light. Right, we've got one more biggie to get out of the way, which leaves me access to the nobly types, which are along the back, all of which sort of lean against each other for moral support. Infundibulum. This has been in bloom 6 months. Whoa! I spy with my little eye bugs, and lots of them. I've actually got my alcohol spray out today. The problem with scale, and these are scale, this is not mealybugs, this is scale, and there's a lot of them, so these have had an outbreak on this plant. The trouble with scale is they have a waxy coating, and most insecticide type sprays, whether they're systemic or not, will not go through that waxy coating. So you don't get the knockdown, killing effect of the spray. It's totally dependent on the systemic part of the spray actually doing its job, which means obviously it's got to get into the plant in enough strength to actually kill anything that takes a bite out of the plant, and that's not so reliable as a knockdown. As I said, this alcohol, the idea with the alcohol is it dissolves that waxy coating and gets on them, and it then evaporates at such a rate that it takes most of their insides with it. It works reasonably well. The other thing I found today, 2 so far, spiders that look dangerous. Not ones I've seen before. They're not large, probably a bit bigger than my fingernail, but they've got fangs at the front, visible fangs at the front. Now whether those are just fluffy bits or whether they've actually got, you know, spiny bits inside, I don't know, because they got squished. So I just didn't like the look of them. They're quite stubby legs and quite almost aggressive looking. And I didn't know what they were because I hadn't seen that type before. And they were over on the mounts, over on the edge over there. And that bloom's going over, so we'll snip that. That leaves 2 and no more buds. No more buds, but we do have a nice new growth coming. So new growth is over this side of the plant. Yeah, so that'll be the next one to bloom when it gets up to maturity. Very tall, clumsy plant, that one. You going to stay there? That wasn't meant to be a question, that was a statement. Stay there. It's a threat, really. Right, then what's left over here are the nobly types. The others are part of the pollen was brought forward because it's in bloom. Otherwise that would have been up the back here as well. Right, this is a relatively recent one. It's actually a name. It's just one of the standard sort of purpley type ones with some yellow bits. And it's called Bouquet Purple Rain. It's doing the rounds. You find quite a lot of these for sale at the moment. It's growing 2 nice new canes, loads of roots, not long been repotted. It will do well. To say those new canes will mature and hopefully the plant will behave itself and bloom late winter, early spring when it's supposed to. The canes are growing at the right time. Yeah, we've also got last year's cane that's matured that hasn't actually bloomed yet. Yeah, so that might misbehave and bloom anytime. It might wait until it's proper time next year, in which case these might be for the following year. They all vary a bit, they're not all the same. It's the hybridisation puts some different sort of things going on in amongst them. Oh, come out. So this one's got so many roots outside the pot, it clamps onto the black pot that it lives in. This is hybrid, no ID. Strong new cane here, just the one pushing out new roots, and it looks like another one might be starting here, which would be good. It could do with 2, and that will be one each side of the plant, which is good. This has bloomed, it's got a nice big kiki there, which I don't want, and as I said, lots of roots outside the pot, which grab hold of the black pot that it sits in. It's gone a bit mad with the old roots, this one. It doesn't need them all, it's not that big a plant. But it's grown them anyway. And I always make sure, when I've got a load of roots outside the pot like this, some of which are stuck onto the pot, I always make sure there's plenty of water goes down the side of the pots, so that the actual external roots get some water as well. Otherwise, you know, if you're not going to put any water on them, you just well cut them off. They don't serve much purpose if they're permanently dry. These I bring over one at a time because there's not enough room on the table, but I have to leave them till last because they're along the back. And then by bringing them over one at a time, I can put them back and then start piling everything back on the shelf. And this is my prima donna. New growths on here, we've got one here, another one here. Mature cane here that hasn't bloomed, and another one here that hasn't bloomed. So we should get blooms on both of those canes at the appropriate time. This one normally behaves itself. And there's a couple of mealy bugs, but nothing much to worry about. To say the heat is not helping, and well, as you've seen, I've had to keep the door open, and if the door's open then some bugs can get in. That's something I will have to live with, and if they start getting out of hand then I will spray, or I will get my hot box on the go. I mean, they can have a dose of sulphur, see how they like that. I certainly don't like the smell. That's that one. That one leans against that one. And then the last one over here is another biggie. And this is, what is this one? Oh, this is the one where the label's faded so badly, so this must be Sweet Pinky Momoko. It's starting to get a tatty looking plant. It's probably going to have a clear out soon. New growth here and here, so there's 2. Mature cane here that hasn't bloomed, and another one here that I don't think has bloomed. No. So we should get some blooms at some point. This one does bloom at odd times. Last time it bloomed 1, singular. You ever seen a nobly bloom with 1 bloom? A useless object. Get your act together. Get those those new growths going. Get them up to full size with any luck. Right, so that's the Noblies along the back, which is therefore everything on that shelf. There is one other thing on the shelf, but it's already been watered, but I will show you because it's now been moved over there, and that's the Zygo. I don't think it's a Zygopetalum, I think it might be a Zygonicea. I've just got it down as a Zygo hybrid, but we've got 5 buds there, so we should have some blooms soon. Strange colours for a Zygo, this one, but that's over on this shelf because it won't be long before it's in bloom. Right, so that's that shelf done, and I'll break off while I put everything back, so I'll be back. Right, we're now down onto the lower shelf. There's an intermediate shelf on that stack, but it's a half shelf, it's got nothing on it. And then the bottom shelf, which is again a double one, so it's a lower light type shelf, has got 2 trays on it, which is a waste because there's only 4 plants, so I'm going to double these up. And this is my relatively new plant. I'm treating it like a mount. It is mounted but in a pot, and this is the Ionopsis, and the bottom of the pot is staying wet, the top of the pot is drying out, which means it stays permanently hydrated, but the best of the roots are up near the top. It's got quite a few new growths on it. It needs to be in bright light, so it's going to come up onto the top shelf. It's a twig epiphyte, so it's to all intents and purposes the best way to think of it is like a Tolumnia, which means I've now got 3 plants in two trays, which is just wasteful. So this is it's an Oncostelli. It's Midnight Miracles Masai Red. It does good roots and it puts up very strong growths. Not sure this new growth's actually going to bloom this time. It should do, certainly big enough, and it's certainly got a good enough root system, and it's got plump bulbs to back it up. It's a strong plant, but I don't see any signs of a spike yet. That doesn't mean to say it's not going to. That was a gift from my friend Alan. There's been a couple of videos of tours around his greenhouse. It's one of the few people that doesn't mind me filming. I might have to make an arrangement with Lynn. Lynn has stopped filming, she's stopped her channel, she's probably too busy doing other things, which is fair enough. She's got a new dog, and it's a puppy. It's taken an awful lot of work and effort to deal with. So that's what's going on in her life at the moment. She's not long had a birthday, that would have been a big family affair. But she's not running her channel as such, so nobody's looking at her orchids, nobody's getting a look. So I might try and make an arrangement to go and have a look around her glass houses, and we can at least have a look and see what's going on. Now this is an Odontocidium, and it's called Tiger Tail. It does have a nice new growth. These are, is that Tiger Tail as well? Yeah, I was going to say I've got 2 of these. They don't grow well for me. They just about hang in there, but they've always got lots more leafless bulbs than leaved bulbs. I mean, there's only 2 leaved bulbs at the front and the new growth, and we've got 5 old bulbs. There are some roots on there, but they're a bit lifeless. There's no new active root tips that I can see, but there are some new roots coming down from that new growth. And also that is still wet from last time when it was watered, so that's not getting any. And the other one, similar again, not quite as many old bulbs, but 2 leaved bulbs and a new growth. This one does have some active roots, so this one's got a much better root system. The new growth is not as far developed as the other one, but the blooms are odont types, but smaller than the modern odonts, which are huge. But those just need to be on one tray. I don't need to keep 2 trays on the go for those. So there we go. So that can go back. And we have an empty tray at the moment, is it? Is there anything worth putting on it? Not really. No, we'll leave it as an empty tray for now. And that can go on that half shelf out of the way. Now that tray I've just put back, I've got my water here, down here. Any trays that I pick up that are starting to get a bit dry, I do them while I've got them under my nose. The main reason is I can make sure they get a proper soak in all the corners and they're properly wet. Right, the next one is a tray, and that's all that's on that shelf. And these are my Miltoniopsis in various stages of growing and not growing. Right, we'll do them one at a time. This is hybrid number 2. It does have a new growth that's pushing on. Doesn't have a strong root system. That new growth is showing some signs of producing some roots, but not a lot. Now these are not that easy to keep going, and the main reason is that they lose roots quite easily, and when they've got a poor root system they're difficult to hydrate, because to hydrate them you need to water them, and because they haven't got many roots the media stays wet and then the roots rot. So they're not easy. Once they get a decent root system you're fine. Now this is Bovalande, so this will have come from Eric Young, Eric Young Foundation on the Isle of Jersey. The French element gives it away basically. All of their own hybrids that they produce have a French element to the name. This is quite a strong plant. It's got 1, 2, 3 new growths on the go. Yeah, 3. All of which are starting to produce roots. The actual root system of the plant is not that good, but it does exist. But with 3 new growths it should produce a reasonable amount of new roots. And then I can start watering a bit better, because I have to water it carefully, because I don't want those older roots to rot. But in the sort of heat we're getting at the moment, it's not staying wet too long. So in the winter you've got to watch it with these. You've got to get them some hydration, but too much. They like the cool temperatures, but they don't like the really short amounts of daylight. So they end up rotting the roots, and then they're gone. Right, this is Her Alexander. We've got blooms on that again. Not a strong plant, but got a new growth coming up here. This was the latest new growth, which is blooming. Ought to take those blooms off really, it's not that strong, this plant. But it does have some roots. There's another new growth coming around there too. It's got some roots, and that is still wet from last time, so that's not getting any. Oh, fragrance from that is almost overpowering when you get this close. To me it smells of roses mixed with soap. Combination of roses and soap. But that's my take on it. I mean, people, you know, you can get 6 people all smell the same bloom and all come up with a different description. Right, so now this one here is not getting watered because it's in coir, and I'm waiting to repot it. It has a new growth. There are signs of root growth at the base, so that is ready to repot. That feels quite heavy. That's wet. That stuff's horrible. I really don't like it at all. So that we will take out, put to one side, and if I can get that done before it gets too hot out here, then that will be tomorrow's video. I'm gradually working through the repots. Now this is a species that will not grow for me. Keeps putting up new growths, but the majority of the plant dies back. I don't think this is ever going to be any good. It's Miltoniopsis phalaenopsis, and it's John Leathers. It just won't grow for me. They came from, there was quite a lot of them sold by Spice Exotic, and I know people that bought them at the same time as me that have got plants that have romped away and bloomed several times. Mine just won't grow. It could just be the plant, just unlucky with the plant. It might be that it just doesn't like my environment, but it won't flipping grow. It's not very big at all, that one. Likes it a little bit warmer than normal Miltoniopsis, that one. It's not a warm grower, but it's likes it a bit warmer. Mind you, this heat's probably too much for it. Yet again, every time I water this I end up cutting dead leaves off. Just more leaves drop than grow, which is not a good sign. And the last one is another manky hybrid with some rotten back bulbs. They need coming off. Does have a new growth starting, and it does have some roots. I'm going to leave that one out too. I want to get that out of the pot. It's got good roots, so it should transplant. I wouldn't try and take the old media off of that. I would just lift it out, take those old bulbs off, and probably just put it back in the same pot and just refresh any media that drops off. But it does have a new growth starting there. So I think we'll do those two Miltoniopsis at the same time. Right, so that's that shelf. As I say, there's only one tray on that shelf. Quite a shady shelf, that one, although it's not the lowest tier. It's one below the highest tier on my highest shelf, but it's got cotyledons above it. It's not a lot of light gets through that jungle, so it is quite a shady shelf. These don't like bright light. There we go. And again, nicely fragrant. Right. Next one, another tray. We're into the Masdevallias and Draculas now. Some of which are doing great and some are not. First job here is some tatty leaves. Tatty leaves on Masdevallias I don't tolerate. There is I think it's a type of fungus. It's not a virus, but it affects Masdevallias badly and it causes leaf drop. And if it gets a hold on a plant, it will cause all the leaves to drop. Sometimes overnight you come in and they're all on the floor. There would be signs, they would be going yellow with some brown tips and stuff, but if it gets it, there's no hope, the plant's going to die. So any tatty looking bits come off. This is Falcata, nice strong plant, stacks of new growths, hasn't bloomed for a while. It's probably a little bit too shady for it there. I know everybody says these are shade lovers, but a lot of people have found that in this country they bloom better if they're given a bit more light than perhaps some people think. But that's a nice plant, nice Masdevallia. It's growing pretty good. That's that one. And then this one up here is, oh, this is the yellow hybrid, so no ID. This one is now starting to push roots down into the pot. There's been quite a few signs of root growth at the base of the plant, but we're now getting them down into the pot, which means the plant will hydrate better and get nice roots like that pushing down. Nonetheless, it's not a bad plant, it's growing nicely. No ID, obviously, just a yellow. Just a yellow, standard shaped Masdevallia hybrid. And I would like to see some blooms on it again because they're very attractive. Not a bad size, they're sort of medium-sized Masdevallia blooms, not giants, but very attractive. Be nice to see some. You listening? That's that one, and then this one that doesn't grow very well at all. This is Prince Charming. And Prince Charming has recently produced that new growth. It's got another one coming there, and it's got a little one down there. So it's about to double in size, but look at the amount of dieback on the plant. Look at all this over here. And quite honestly, I suspect that would just pull off, yeah. It's gone. The whole back end of the plant just rotted. But the front end of the plant is starting to push on. It's also still wet from last time, so it's not getting any. Right. Rubbish, over my bag. Ugh. Right, so that's that one. And then the other tray on that shelf is sort of more of the same. Again, this is a relatively shady shelf. It's not a tall shelf overall. The top shelf is Coelogenes, the bottom shelf is 2 down. So there's quite a big gap there. So it gets more light through that pane of glass than those Miltonias do, which are only 1 shelf down below the Coelogenes. Yeah, so these get a little bit more light than those. Right, this are Coriacea. I think I got this from Lynn, and that still looks wet to me. See what I mean? You know, I haven't watered for 9 days, so 9 days ago that probably got watered. It's still wet. There's not enough roots in the pot to use it up. There are a few, but not many. However, it's just produced 2 new growths and another one that's maturing. So it is in growth, but it's not doing very well on the old root front. Hopefully it will improve. And then this is my Dracula Raven. That weighs nothing. That is bone dry, which it shouldn't be. It's a Dracula, but it's in pure moss, and it seems to be drying out a bit quick. We might have to put it in a bigger pot, simply not for the root space, simply so that it doesn't dry out so quick. The other alternative is to put it somewhere separate and keep my eye on it separately, so it would end up with its own little watering schedule. But it's growing okay. Yeah, it's pushing up new growths. So, as I say, it's growing okay. It hasn't bloomed for me yet. The blooms are very dark coloured. Well, it goes with the name, doesn't it? Raven. Quite like Vampira, which I think is one of the component parts. Now this is my little seedling Dracula. This is Dracula Bella. We started a mini project on this, but this is growing on quite nicely now. There's quite a few new growths. These are new growths. There's another one coming. Now at some point I will have to repot that. It's in bark, and it's in a closed pot. Yeah. Now obviously it's nowhere near blooming size, so I don't have to worry about the blooms getting trapped in the pot yet. Now that is just damp, but I would imagine it's starting to produce a few more roots, given, you know, there's several new growths have grown. You might actually do a quick video on that and get the I kept either the videos or the stills of what that looked like as it, from when I got it, as it progressed, and then that project sort of went on hold. It might be worth revisiting that and go back and have a look at what it was like and when, and then what it looks like now. So we might do that. What have we got here then? Pot full of roots, we like that. And a bone dry pot. That is Masdevallia Schoweriana. Why don't I think? Oh, I know how that got to me. I was at Wisley, so it won't be this year, possibly last year, maybe the year before, and I was looking at spice exotic plants, and I picked this one up without even looking at the name because it looked like a good plant. I'm always looking for good plants. Obviously a Masdevallia. And the voice behind me said, "Are you Roger?" I said, "Yes." Well, it actually probably started with "Who Wants to Know," being towards London. And he said, "I can't do donations for your channel. Would you let me buy that plant for you?" So he actually bought it for me. So a form of donation, but a direct one. It's growing nicely. It has bloomed. Not recently. Again, I've got a feeling my Masdevallias are a little bit too shady for the blooming. They're obviously growing okay, but not necessarily coming into bloom. They haven't got enough light. And I've known quite a few people that have said that Masdevallias that are reluctant to bloom, just give them more light and they will burst into life. But go steady, because obviously the leaves can burn. Right, that's that one. And then this one doesn't look very happy. Let's trim those leaves, first job. Quite a few as well. Are you becoming a worry? Never been a healthy plant, this one. This is no ID hybrid, and it's a red one. That's what it says on the label, hybrid brackets red. It's not his name, it's just its colour to differentiate between any others that I might have. It is growing and it is producing some roots around the base, but it hasn't got a very good root system at all. When I got this one home I was quite disappointed with the roots. But it's trying. You know, I mean, there's in this area here, there's 1, 2, 3 new growths there, another one there, 4. So it is pushing new roots up. It should produce some roots eventually. As again, you know, you get the varieties of Masdevallias. Some of them chuck out roots like they're going out of fashion. You know, every new growth produces a couple of roots and they end up with a lovely pot full of roots. And others just won't grow roots. They grow new growths, but they don't like producing roots. I think if you get a plant like that just doesn't want to grow roots, I think the media's wrong for it, because the chances are those roots are starting and failing immediately. But that's only a theory, because if they fail almost immediately, you don't get to see them, do you? Anyway, that's that shelf. As I said, it's a slightly brighter shelf than the Miltoniopsis, because it's lower down, which would imply more shade, but it hasn't got much above it. So yeah, not too bad. And both of those mats in those trays were reasonably wet, as was the Miltoniopsis, so they've been recently done basically. So all that's left now are the Coleogenes, and I'm not going to film those today. There's quite a lot of them. It would make the video far too long, and I believe they would make a good separate video, although I will water them today, so we'll have to do that as a separate video, either just looking at them or wait till my next watering run and then finish off with the Coleogenes. So that's a look at some plants that we don't get to see perhaps very often, simply because, as I said, I normally start filming over here and only go halfway, but this was the rest basically. So things that we've looked at, the Cymbidiums recently, we've looked at the Pleones recently, we haven't looked at the Phalaenopsis for a while, and I don't think it was that long ago we had a look at the mounted orchids, so really the Coleogenes is what's left as a reasonably large group. Okay, hope you've enjoyed that. Quite a lot of people seem to enjoy me waffling around while I'm watering, and you know, a quick look at the plants and a chat about them. So reasonably popular video, so I hope you've enjoyed it. And as I said, I've got 2 Miltoniopsis down here. The sun is starting to hit the roof. If I'm going to do them today, I need to do them now, and then that can be tomorrow's video. But more realistically, they will get left until earlier tomorrow when it's cool, and I'll do them tomorrow for tomorrow's video. Far more sensible. The more I think about stuff, the more sense creeps in. The spur of the moment stuff is not always the most sensible. Right, so that's me done for watering today. All I've got to do now is my Sarracenias. Their little trays that they're in, I'm having to top those right up every day. They're using that much water. But they are in massive growth mode. They are producing a hell of a lot of pictures. They're massive. Done really well since they were repotted. Really well. I've got, I think Hannah's got it. Whether she's using it or not, I will find out next time. I've got 2 really big black trays. Yeah, they're huge. They get used for the big bonsai mainly. I've got my small creamy coloured one that I use for most of my orchid repotting. I had a black one that was in between those 2, and basically it was Elvis's litter tray. And you know, obviously it holds water and everything. It's got relatively steep sides, and if I can get that back, I think all of the Sarracenias would stand in that, and then, you know, they could have a reasonable amount of water in the tray and it would last a lot longer before it ran out. Strictly speaking, they ought to be outside in the sun, but I can't keep up with the watering. I just can't do it. I haven't got anything suitable for them to be in. You need to be in something where they can have a good 2 to 3 inches of water, and it'll last a while. But they're in here at the moment. I like the look of them. You know, there's something a bit different. Anyway, there we go. I shall go and get this thing processed and get it loaded, and probably heading towards lunchtime now. Where are we? 12:02. So yes, heading towards lunchtime soon. Get the video done first and then I'll have some lunch. I've switched my meals now. My main meal of the day I have at lunchtime, and I have next to nothing from then on. It's working. This is going down slowly but surely. So whoever suggested that, it was a viewer, because I used to have my breakfast and then I'd have a snack lunch like a bit of cheese and some biscuits, something like that, or a yoghurt and some walnuts, and then have my main meal at tea time. Well, I go to bed early, yeah, so that meal was not really getting time to be processed right through, whereas now it does, because I'm eating lunchtime. So thanks for that suggestion. Wouldn't have thought of that. I've always had my main meal at tea time, and it seems odd, and I was worried to death that come tea time I would be hungry and want yet another meal, but I'm managing that okay. So I will get this done, then get some food, and then we will watch some tennis. Not football. Well, there's no football on this time of day because of the time zone difference. Or the football, you're lucky if you get something starting around tea time. There was a match on yesterday that I caught some of. Spain and somebody. Spain and I can't remember who, but I caught some of that. I was flicking channels, you know. But most of the time I'm watching tennis at the moment, and a lot of the time I'm watching 2 people I've never heard of. And then you hear a voice in the background, you think, that's McEnroe. I know him, but he's not playing, obviously. He did once. But yeah, he used to get in a lot of arguments and hassles and stuff like that. What was it he used to say? You cannot be serious! He used to shout at people, like the umpires and people like that. It was before they had proper VAR type technology for the lines. I mean, Wimbledon this year, they haven't even got line judges. It's all electronic. Yeah. If there's a ball that, you know, if one of the players looks up and says, it just comes up on a big screen and shows whether it was in or out. It's just all electronic now. So it removes the arguments that are good, because some players used to really have a go at that. Some of them I know used to do it on purpose to upset the other player. Puts them off. They have an argument with the umpire, stamp around, bang their racket, get all, you know, blah blah blah, and in a huff. The other player's waiting to play. Yeah, and they've got to try and let that blow over them. Yeah, it's all psychological. Anyway, I should probably fall asleep while I'm watching it. And we have a heat wave coming yet again, as I've said, which means we might end up sleeping downstairs again for a while. Although it doesn't sound as though it's going to get as hot as the last one. So, you know, just over 30 maybe. I might be able to still sleep upstairs. We shall see. I don't mind sleeping downstairs, it doesn't worry me. But, anyway, I shall see you next time. Thanks for dropping by. Don't forget the old thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already done so, and all that sort of stuff. Don't forget your hypes and everything. And thanks to all those people that are members. I have a chat for you on Sunday. It's a little serious, YouTube playing the games again, being greedy, but at the moment it doesn't affect existing members, but it might do one day, so I would still like to explain it, but I shall do that in the Sunday chat. So right, bye for now, see you next time.